One bite of this could kill you. It's a salt crystal from the bottom of the Dead Sea, and it's actually only 1/3 table salt. The rest of it is made up of magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, calcium chloride, and bromide, which if consumed in heavy levels can kill you. But that's nothing compared to this. Water from the Dead Sea is 10 times saltier than ocean water. And just like that salt crystal, it contains all sorts of chemicals that are potentially lethal. And if they don't kill you, it'll send you into electrolyte shock, which can cause cardiac arrest, seizures, and even brain damage. There's a reason they call it the Dead Sea. Nothing can live here. And yet this body of water has another secret, something that makes it one of the most important bodies of water in all of Israel and appear again and again and again in the Bible. And so together, we're gonna go on a journey through Scripture and across the Dead Sea to explore the mysteries of this amazing body of water and to understand how, according to Scripture, this deadly body of water is somehow a source of everlasting life. Three and a half million years ago, the Arabian and African tectonic plates began to shift, and along the fault between these two plates, a basin began to form, resulting in what is called the Jordan Rift Valley. Over millions of years, this basin began to collect water, and during the Ice Age, a massive lake called Lake Lisan occupied this area and extended all the way north to Galilee. Over time though, as the temperature rose and Israel's climate changed, this lake evaporated, leaving behind the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea. And if you've ever been to these two lakes, you know that they couldn't be any more different. The Sea of Galilee is teeming with life, and the Dead Sea is, well, dead. So the question is, what made the Dead Sea so salty? And the answer is several things. First, the Dead Sea is the lowest land area on Earth. Heavy deposits of salt and other minerals flow down the Jordan and off the surrounding mountains and all deposit here. But that's not all. The Dead Sea also has no natural outlet, which means that when these deposits enter the Dead Sea, they have no way out. They simply build and build over time. And since the Dead Sea is one of the hottest and driest places on Earth, receiving less than 2 inches of rain a year, its water evaporates faster than the Jordan River can replenish or dilute it, leaving behind high concentrations of salt and minerals that compound over time. This, of course, makes the Dead Sea unlike any other body of water in the world. The water literally feels like oil on your skin. It's so salty, you cannot sink. And as we said, nothing can live in it. So one question is, what did the people of the Bible think about the Dead Sea? We know from Scripture that many key events happened in the areas around the Dead Sea. Sodom and Gomorrah sat just south of the Dead Sea. Ruth and Naomi traveled from its eastern side to get from Moab to Bethlehem. David hides in En-Gedi on the western bank. And Joshua leads the Israelite people across the Jordan and into the Promised Land just north of it. The events of the Bible seem to surround the Dead Sea. And yet, when you look at what the Bible specifically has to say about the Dead Sea, it really doesn't say anything. Books like Numbers and Deuteronomy reference it when establishing Israel's borders. Others use it as a marker to describe the locations of battles. But beyond that, the Bible just doesn't really say much. And in some cases, it appears to view it with a sense of judgment. Which begs the question, why? Because here's the thing. The Dead Sea isn't all that bad. In fact, in many ways, it's kind of amazing. For instance, the Dead Sea naturally creates deposits of asphalt called bitumen. Yes, asphalt, like they use to pave your streets. And scholars have discovered that Egyptians would import this substance all the way from the Dead Sea so that they could use it in the mummification process. In fact, this was such a significant resource at the time of Jesus that the ancient Jewish historian Josephus doesn't call the lake the Dead Sea or even the Salt Sea. He calls it Lake Asphaltitis. But there's more, because the Dead Sea also has amazing restorative powers. It's been known to reduce arthritis, remove acne, and even cure eczema, which at the time of Jesus was actually a form of leprosy. So it begs the question, why doesn't the Bible talk more about the Dead Sea? Well, think about it this way. Imagine you're the Israelite people, and you've been traveling through the wilderness for 40 years. You've been relying upon God to feed you with manna and quail. You've drank water that came from rocks. And at the end of your journey, as you're about to enter into this land that God has promised you, you come across this massive body of water, a lake that you believe will feed you and quench your thirst. But when you get to it, you realize that it's not that. This lake isn't going to ensure your survival, it's going to kill you. This lake looks pretty, but in the end, it's nothing. And this is really what we see in Scripture. The Dead Sea is basically nothing. This massive body of water that is good for little more than serving as a boundary marker. In fact, if anything, it's a symbol of spiritual emptiness, something that looks great on the outside, but is dead within. But here's what's so beautiful about the Bible. That's not the Dead Sea's whole story. You see, there's one moment in Ezekiel where it says, "Then he said to me, this water flows toward the eastern region and goes down into the Arabah, the Dead Sea, and enters the sea. When the water flows into the sea, the water will become fresh. And wherever the river goes, every living creature that swarms will live, and there will be very many fish. Everything will live where the river goes." He's talking about living water, water that flows from the Jordan into the Dead Sea that will take that which is dead and give it life. And do you remember what Jesus says about himself when he goes into the temple on the Feast of Tabernacles? A celebration that came at the end of a dry season when everything around could seem like the Dead Sea. He says, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink. Whoever believes in me, as Scripture has said, rivers of living water will flow from within them." He's talking about this same sort of thing that Ezekiel is talking about. Just like Ezekiel said the living waters of the Jordan will bring life to the Dead Sea, Jesus is saying my living water will bring you to life. I will take what is dead inside of you and renew it, restore it, so that you can't even recognize it anymore. No longer will you be pretty on the outside but dead within. No longer will the world think that you've got it all together, but you know what's really going on inside. I will restore you completely. And I love how when we visit the Dead Sea, we don't just hear this, we experience it. It's what I call seeing beyond the words. When you look beyond the words on the page and really begin to understand the land and the culture and the context, and all of a sudden, the Scriptures come alive. And passages you've read 1,000,000 times, or things you've never even given a second glance, suddenly jump off the page. And you're seeing things in the Bible you've never seen before. And the Bible somehow becomes easier to understand than it ever was before. And if you want to learn how to do this, then make sure to download my free resource called How to Read Beyond the Words. You'll find a link up here or down in the description. And if you'd like to see another video from Israel that will amaze you and change the way you read the Bible, then just click this link right here. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.